So I- we're always behind with supply, right?
Mhm.
And we're always bringing in all these people. Where the fuck is everybody living? Like, shouldn't there be people like overflowing in the streets with the math? Like, are we that far behind that when we bring in 1 million people, there isn't just floods of people everywhere on the street? I mean, there's
Well,
people in tents in places, but not that many.
well, probably more than we even care to talk about or recognize. But I just had Ron Butler on my podcast. We were talking about it. He's talking about what's going on in Toronto, and with international students, for example, living in houses that are crammed and walled with blankets. Paying $800 a month or whatever it is. So there's a lot of that's going on that isn't hitting any kind of mainstream media. You start to see it a little bit in the background, and of course, we both like to hang out, or we all like to hang out on Twitter, so we start to see some of the stuff there that shows up. But in general, we're not seeing just how bad it is in behind the scenes. So I think it's really bad.
Yeah,
And I
there
know
are
Vancouver, Toronto, it's pretty
I
ugly.
mean, it
not not
has
just
to be
not just
bad.
students, not just students. There also there's
Yeah.
a lot of people who are living in homes with a lot of people living in those
With
homes,
a lot of
and
people
that
in the
they don't have a
houses.
choice, and they're not even in the position where, like, they could go and maybe just get like a condo or something. Like, these are all these people, in order for them to have housing, they need to be living in with their whole families, for
Yeah,
example, or with
multi-generational.
other families,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's the issue, is you start getting things that are overloaded, which great, expanding housing and options in neighborhoods would be the perfect
Yeah.
solution to be able
Yeah.
to keep people together and do it in a legal, safe way.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, the house I used to live in across the street, like there were so many people in that house. It was crazy. Like
Mhm.
so many cars, so many people. I didn't know who lived there, who didn't live there. If it was a party all day, if it was a casino, I didn't know what was going on. But then even here where I live, across the street, there's like different people coming and going all the time. Like I don't know how many units are in these things. And
Well,
I even remember walking around the corner, walking the dog, seeing like the garage was like 3 units on a house, and like they had side units and ladders going up to a window. Like it's crazy.
we can't relate to that, but there is that kind of demographic of income that they are left with no choice. They are literally in survival mode and really trying to just say, how do I live? How do I keep a roof over my head? How do I pay my bills? How do I stay ahead? And sadly, when we look at Canada, we're not used to that. This is what's starting to shift and change for Canadians. And we're seeing that certainly escalate over the past 3 years. And we go back to, we have to look at the source of the problem. And lots of people don't want to get political. I have no problem getting political. The source of the problem is our governments, and all three levels of government when it comes to housing: federal, provincial, and municipal. They don't communicate. It's like the right arm doesn't know what the left arm is doing. Then the squeaky wheel always gets the grease in terms of the NIMBYism. And when I say that, it's the squeaky wheel doesn't necessarily mean the most people. It just means the loudest squeak. So we get this little handful of people that are bitching and moaning about the world coming to an end because they won't be able to park where they used to park, and blah, blah, blah. And they get the political grease. So what happens is it becomes politics over policy. That is the mantra. That is what they're talking about in the back room. Who's yelling the loudest? Who's bitching and moaning the loudest? And that's who we're going to look after, because we're only ever thinking about election. And it becomes this vicious circle, and it just seems to be getting worse. And it could be the same as always, but just because of social media, it feels worse. I don't know
You know about it.